Afternoon goes by. Just as a matter of interest, how many of you have been here, were here for our first cooking school during Fun Fest back in July? So, several, okay, yeah. Okay, so who was here for Mark Anthony a month and a half ago? Okay, so we've got several that are overlapping here. So welcome to you, all of you, and to you newcomers as well. And I hope you'll enjoy our healthy holiday desserts this evening and our talk from David, who's visiting us from Rogersville today. Well, let's start with a word of prayer, and then we'll get going after that. Dear Lord, we're grateful for the gorgeous day today and for the beautiful fall weather. And be with us as we try to learn how to better take care of our bodies and our families. And we just thank you for the many things you've provided for us. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, let me give you just a real quick overview of how I got interested in health. When I was about 6 years old, I was sitting at the table eating Kentucky Fried Chicken, big drumstick in my hand, and my dad came by and he said, "We're not going to be eating that much longer." And I thought, what? You got to be kidding. Who doesn't love Kentucky Fried Chicken drumsticks? And so then just within a few months, my folks had decided to go vegetarian. And my mom especially had a real interest in vegetarianism, and she, this was of course in the 60s when I was a kid. But she would hear of a health food store opening in a nearby town somewhere, and she would say, "Hey, let's go visit that health food store." So we'd go, and she'd check out all the books and products that they had. And that was kind of before that thing was really cool. You know, now we had never heard the word vegan or plant-based or any of that kind of stuff at that point. And even vegetarian, sometimes if you told somebody you were a vegetarian, they were like, "What does that mean?" They didn't even know what that was. So we've come a long way in the last many years, and my mom continued as time went by to, she would drag me along. I was the oldest and the only child for a number of years, so she would take me to hear health lectures and stuff. And so I've been around the block a few times with the health thing. That doesn't mean that it hasn't been a struggle, especially when I had my first baby, and I thought, you know, I would really love to raise him not being addicted to milk and cheese and eggs and, you know, the dairy products. We were already off of meat, and so then I heard of a class from the Weimar Institute that was being held in our town, so went and took that, and it was still a process, though. You know, those things are hard to give up, and everywhere you go, there's pizza, and there's ice cream, and candy, and Little Debbie's. So many things, you know, that are hard to give up, and I love food as much as anybody. There's just not any food I don't care for. I like it all and lots of it. And too, we were raised in the South, lots of fried stuff and buttermilk. I still could go for a big glass of buttermilk with cornbread broken up in it and a green onion on the side. It's like, that's some fine stuff right there. Let me hesitate for just a moment and say welcome to my mom and my stepdad, who surprised me by coming up today. This is their first time in Kingsport, and so I was real happy to look up and see them walking through the door. So my mom was kind of the instigator in, you know, getting things moving in a healthy direction in my life, but it has been a process. As time went by, and I learned more and more and more, I ended up doing crazy stuff, like my kids hardly ever went to the doctor, and I think only maybe 2 of them have ever even had an antibiotic, because I learned some natural methods of treating, which we hope to be doing some natural remedies classes here too at some point along the way. And in Rogersville, where David's from, they offer a lot of things there, and that's only 30 minutes from here. So we'll have to find out when you have stuff going on and then let everybody know. So make sure before you leave today, we'll be passing out an interest survey, and make sure we've got your contact information, and then when we hear of something coming up or we're doing something, you'll be able to know about it and potentially attend. So in thinking about holiday desserts, you know, the holidays are a really hard time for most people. literally everywhere you go, there's snacks, even places that don't usually have snacks. In your office, people will put out Christmas cookies and just all kinds of stuff everywhere you go. So it makes it really, really difficult, especially if you have a sweet tooth. Does anybody else just have a really bad sweet tooth? I just struggle. I get tickled at my husband, who doesn't have the sweet tooth that I have. I call him my caveman. But he can take, you know those little ginger candies that come in a little tiny thing, and they're kind of chewy, like a gummy sort of. They're delicious. I could eat a whole package of those things. Occasionally he'll say, I just need a little something sweet after this meal. He'll open one of those, eat half of it. It's already only an inch long. He'll eat half of it and close it back up and stick it up in the cabinet. So then I go and get it out and eat that one and some others as well. But anyway, so for the people who don't have a sweet tooth, I'm sure maybe you don't understand where the rest of us are coming from with this. But it's hard. It's really hard for a lot of us. But you know, sometimes a lot of what seems so necessary is not necessary. And it took me till I was in my 60s to figure that out, that we don't always have to do things the way they were done. I remember going to my granny's house in Atlanta for the first time that she didn't have a Christmas tree, and being so shocked. And she was in her 80s, and I'm like, Granny, there's no tree. And she's like, I felt like I just had put it away, and now I'm getting it out again. She said, I decided not doing it this year. I'm done. She was 20 years older than I am now, and I'm tired of the Christmas tree. It's like, oh, I feel like I just put that thing away. Now it's time to get it back out. I'm not sure we have to do everything the way we've always done things, and that includes the way we eat and the way we do the holidays. I've got a couple things over here. This I brought because of my granddaughter. She's 14, and she eats at our house a time or two a week, or every other week or so. And I know she likes oranges, and so I thought, oh, I've got some oranges. I'll put some cut oranges on my plate. Put them out there, and when she got there, she looked at it sitting on the table with the other stuff, and she said, well, aren't we bougie? It's like, it's oranges on a plate. But she really thought that was pretty. You know, it's a green plate, and it is pretty. When you really think of it, I just grabbed the nearest plate. I mean, I wasn't trying to be bougie, you know, but that's simple, and yet kids would eat that. You know, they don't have to have a plate of cookies. There's alternatives to cookies. Another thing we did when she was little, is we made a kiwi Christmas tree. And that's pomegranate seeds on there. And my assistant caveman husband did this for me this morning. The trunk is just some kiwi peeling, and I think kids would get a kick out of this, or doing it, you know, to help kids make a kiwi Christmas tree. And that was easy. You know, it didn't take but a few minutes to peel the kiwis and lay them out there. It took a little bit longer to do the pomegranates because those things are a pain. But you'd probably come up with something else if you didn't want to turn your fingernails orange. But, and sometimes it's a matter of the way things are served. My son gave me this. He was moving and couldn't keep it, so he's like, do you want this thing? And it's like, sure. So some of the items that we're having on our program tonight are on this little thing here. And I saw this on the internet a while back and thought that has to be the cutest idea. It's just a tangerine with a piece of celery stuck in it, and it looks like a miniature pumpkin. And what kid wouldn't enjoy eating those? You know, so we can do some things different, and yet still make things seem special. And you know, now, I know when I was a kid, we did not get potato chips on a regular basis. That was a treat. Now it's like, I think it was John McDougall I heard say, that now we treat every day as a feast day. Used to, you only had potato chips and certain candies and treats on holidays. And it wouldn't hurt us if we only did it on holidays, but we do it all the time. Every day now is a holiday in America. You know, we just are a land of plenty. way too much. It's so plentiful. So let's start on this little journey of healthy desserts today with some Snowy Night peanut butter balls. They're going to pass out your recipes for this. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with carob. Who of you have maybe never heard of carob powder? That's new to some of you, a couple of you, okay. Carob is an interesting thing. It grows where it's hot. It grows where nothing else will grow. They use the seeds and the pod that it comes in. The trees are big. They get like 50 feet tall, and they have these clusters of pods that hang on the tree and can be used. You know, we're told that John the Baptist ate locusts and wild honey. These are called locust pods, and they grow where John the Baptist was. I'm not sure he was chasing down grasshoppers and dipping them in honey, although he could have. Grasshoppers are considered clean biblically, but that would be a little time consuming to chase grasshoppers. It doesn't sound like something I'd care to do. But it could be that he was eating carob and wild honey, because it's very good together. So these are ground up. They're full of nutrients. It's a similar thing as chocolate, but you can't eat it thinking this is going to be just like chocolate. It's not like chocolate. It's different than chocolate, but it's good just the same. It's full of nutrients. Let me tell you a few of the nutrients that are in carob. It's a good source of fiber. It's caffeine-free. Almost no fat in this. It's used as a thickener, a stabilizer, and an emulsifier. Have you ever seen locust bean gum on a product? That's from the carob bean. It's a good source of vitamins E, C, D, B3, folate. It has 3 times more calcium than milk. 3 times more. It aids in digestion. It's good for morning sickness. You can take a little spoonful of carob if you've got morning sickness, and I did that, and it does help. It helps with other digestive issues. Dogs can eat carob. Dogs cannot eat chocolate, but they can eat carob, and it doesn't hurt a thing. This contains no theobromine, which causes headaches, heartburn, and can alter moods. You know, we keep thinking in the back of our head somewhere that what I'm eating today is going to affect me down the road. What you eat today affects you today. It may affect you down the road badly as well, but it does affect you today. Sometimes I'll hear somebody say, oh, I have a headache, I have a headache. I don't know why I get these headaches. Well, what'd you have for lunch? It probably has something to do with whether you have a headache or not. But this has no theobromine, and chocolate does, and which causes headaches and stuff. Chocolate is bitter on its own. You have to put chocolate with some sweetener. You can't hardly eat it. This is sweet on its own. You have to add very little sweetness to it to make it palatable. This prevents constipation for those of you who may consider that an issue. And yet, this is one of those weird things where God is amazing. It prevents constipation, but if you take it when you have diarrhea, it helps stop the diarrhea. So isn't that bizarre? God has a sense of humor sometimes. Okay, well, let's see what we can do here for Snowy Night peanut butter balls. Another thing that you may want to consider when you're dealing with your family members who aren't wanting to eat healthy is to don't call it healthy food. I used to call these carob balls. I now call them peanut butter balls. They've got peanut butter in them, so let's call them that because it freaks people out to hear something new. And when they go to put it in their mouth, they're already making a face before it even gets there. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so a half cup of carob powder. Let's see, I've got my stuff here. And carob powder can be found at almost any health food store, and Walmart may even have it now, for all I know. This is the 4th cup, so we're going to need to use 2 of these. That just shows you how good I am at math. I've told my husband I won't do math out loud if you won't spell in front of anybody.
I can relate with your husband.
Yeah. And then, let's see, a half cup of honey. decided to do like Mark Anthony and just put all my stuff up here with me at one time. I think we're going to need to open this all the way up before we can use it. Okay, so a half cup of honey. And it will look for just a minute like, oh gee, is that ever going to mix together? But it does.
So does the sugar of honey impact your body differently than, other type of sugar?
Not really, but having said that, it is more natural than regular just table sugar. It hasn't been so manipulated and messed with. The Bible, I'm with Barbara O'Neill, that was in town in Rogersville recently. She seems to think that a lot of the things that were mentioned in the Bible as food that people now say are not healthy for you they probably still have some health benefits. There is a Bible text, and I meant to write it down and forgot where it is. You may know. You and David may already know. It says, don't eat too much honey or you're going to vomit. So moderation, is a really great thing. So you can see that still looks very powdery, but as I stir it here, it starts to get dark. And sooner or later, we're going to have a camera up here so you can see what's going on without me having to tilt the bowl. Yeah, it's getting there. This is the easiest recipe. This is something kids can do and would enjoy doing. Okay, and you can see that went from powdery to dark in a hurry. So that's carob and honey. That's only 2 ingredients. Okay, so far, the honey doesn't have any fiber, but carob is full of fiber. And if you were here for our first class where Dr. Rebecca did our talk, she talked a lot about fiber. And if you want to know if something is something you should eat or not, just ask, does this have any fiber? And if the answer is no, you probably shouldn't eat it, or sure shouldn't eat much of it. And so sugar, fiber or no fiber? No fiber. Honey, no fiber, but it does have a few nutrients. And even that you need to use in moderation. Okay, so the third ingredient is 1 cup of peanut butter. And this is all natural peanut butter.
So it's just ground peanuts?
Just ground peanuts, yeah, that's it.
Could you substitute that with almond butter?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I've made some the other day with almond butter, and they turned out just fine. So yeah, you sure can. So if somebody has an issue with peanuts, and a lot of people do, and you can use almond butter. And these are best served almost straight out of the freezer. You may want to give them 5 or 10 minutes to thaw a little bit, but that's when they're really good, is about 5 or 10 minutes out of the freezer. So the ones you're going to be getting here in a minute have been out for maybe a little bit longer than that. Okay, so now we're going to mix this peanut butter with the honey and the carob. Until it's all one color again. Yeah, I've never served these to anybody who did not like them. Now, I have served them to people and not told them there was carob because of what we just said. People sometimes get a bee in their bonnet over stuff they're unfamiliar with. Or if you tell them it's healthy, they don't want it. Can't be good if it's healthy. Okay, so we've got that mixed together good enough for our purposes here today. That's mixed together. And all we're going to do is, this is some unsweetened coconut. We're going to pinch off a little piece of this, roll it in a ball. It doesn't even hardly make your hands messy. And then roll it in the coconut. And then put it on a plate. And usually I freeze it in one layer on a plate, and then after they're frozen, after even a few hours, you can just dump them in a freezer bag, and you don't have to leave them on the plate.
Is that the size you usually make them?
Yeah, I usually make them about the size of a marble, kind of a large marble. You can make them a little bigger or smaller, but that'd be a lot of,
Smaller.
if you make it small, yeah, it'd be a pain. So, and you can, and that's what's in the top of that thing over there. And the other thing, the next thing, let's see, the Christmas cookies, we're going to save that for just a couple minutes, are the stuffed date treats. And those are mighty easy to make too. You can get dates at Aldi for fairly cheap. And you can get dates at, I still haven't been to Sam's yet since we moved here.
You can get them at Sam's.
They do have them at Sam's, okay. So you can get these at Sam's.
They're better at Sam's.
Are they? Really?
Got better taste or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the ones at Aldi I feel like are a little dry. I got these at Costco in Knoxville. So we're gonna put a little bit of peanut butter in there. And then you can put some other kind of nut. And you can fill them with any kind of nut butter. And stick a walnut in there. And then refrigerate these, and they're delicious, just like that. And that's easy. That's really easy. So they're going to pass out to you now the peanut butter balls and the dates and let you try those. Got me a wet cloth here, unlike last time, so I can wipe my fingers off.
That's not how I made those, what I made. I pulled it out from
Okay.
the middle and shoved it down in the hole. So it wasn't as pretty as that.
And then they'll be around in a minute after you've had time to eat those and pick up your trash too.
Lucy is pretty.
So could you put cream cheese in the date?
You could if you were a mind to eat cream cheese. Yeah.
Oh, you don't do that.
Yeah, we're trying to go plant-based. They do make a non-dairy cream cheese. You can't even make a cream cheese out of tofu and stuff. So yeah, you could stuff it with any number of things. And when I looked on the internet for stuffed dates, cream cheese was one of the things that they were stuffing them with. But since we were trying to go plant-based today, we were going with nut butter. But yeah, there are some non-dairy cream cheeses. But even with those, if you read the ingredients, it's usually fat for the first ingredient, and so we're trying to go low-key on fat too. So those any good? Yeah. Oh, I see Rhoda back there. Glad you drove up from Greenville to be with us today. Glad to have you. Mark, would you get me a tray to, one of the little round trays that I can set stuff on to get rid of? That's what we need to. Okay, and the next thing, Carson, if I can have that next tray for the date caramel. I love caramel. I don't know,
Liz Warren?
yeah, that's fine. I'll just stick some of this stuff on there keep all that in there. Let me keep the plate and that. And get rid of this. And probably those. And these. I think I need, yeah, I don't think I need any of that. Let me keep my spatula. Okay. Thank you. Here, you can take those too. One more. Thanks. Yeah, who doesn't love caramel? I tell you, that's so delicious. And so when I It's a wonder I don't weigh 500 pounds here before you today, because over the last month, I tried recipe after recipe after recipe of date caramel. And I knew I had had one somewhere that was delicious, and I was determined to find it. And I think I finally did, but it was after trying a whole bunch of them to see if I couldn't get it right. So we're going to start off, and as you can see on your recipe, there's only a few ingredients. So this is so easy, so easy. So we're starting off with some dates, 20 medjool dates. These are the nice soft ones like I just had out here a minute ago. They're just soft. They're just like candy all on their own. So I've got 20 of them here that have been pitted. You do not want to put a pit in with your food in the blender. That makes a terrible mess. And to try to get all the little date or pit pieces out once you've blended one up and knocked it around, it's a nightmare. Okay, and so 4 tablespoons of nut butter, or you can use walnuts. That's about a 1/4 cup, I believe. And I'm sure you could probably use almond butter for this as well.
What about the honey?
Yes, you can. Yeah, that's right. I did read that somewhere, and I'm going to be trying that because I love tahini. If you don't know what tahini is, it's sesame seed butter. So sesame seeds that have been made into a butter. This is reduced fat coconut milk, and I think it does say light coconut milk on there. This takes about, as I made this 2 or 3 times before I wrote it all down, I came to the conclusion that you need about 2/3 or maybe 3/4 of a can of coconut milk, and that has the fat that rose to the top there. So that ought to be about right. If you like it thinner, you can do it thinner.
So you don't use the full can?
No, I've got about a 1/3 of the can left, but you can add this if you want to. If you use full fat coconut milk, by the time you put it in the refrigerator and get it back out, it's really stiff. So that keeps it from being as stiff. Okay, and then we're going to use, that says a teaspoon of vanilla or maple. I figured out that maple flavoring is the kicker for caramel, date caramel. Vanilla's okay, but the maple takes it up a notch. Use that right there. Well, that said a whole teaspoon. That was only half. Okay. And then the salt. I don't know if y'all have been hearing lately, but apparently the regular old table salt that we have used for so many years is the bad salt. This salt is a much better salt.
Is that the Celtic?
Celtic sea salt, yes, and it's full of minerals, all kinds of minerals. And it's a little more moist, so it doesn't shake out of a shaker very easy, but it's doable. I'm putting a whole half teaspoon in here because that makes it more like a salted caramel, if y'all are into that.
Marsha?
Yes.
Where do you find that? I've looked for that because it's supposed to help with headaches too if you put it on your tongue.
Amazon.
Amazon?
You can get
Although-
it at the health food store.
Oh, they do have it at the health food store, though. It's just cheaper on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, but they do have it in several different sizes at the health food store. Yeah, so, okay, and that's all there is to that. Okay, let's give this a whirl. do that one more time. Okay, that is all there is to that. Couldn't be easier.
Shorter. It's a lot easier.
That
to use when
is,
it's not
that
so
took
tall.
less
Ours
time
is
than to
also
drive to
tall.
Walmart and buy a bag of Kraft
Like
caramels.
you're digging down the bottom.
So when you've got a craving, there you go. So we're ready for those with the apples.
I'm
Yeah,
just
so y'all are gonna get to
having-
try this. This is good stuff, I tell you. That is good stuff. Now, is this
Store that.
something, go
Is
ahead.
that one?
I've just put it in a jar or Tupperware or whatever and put it in the fridge, yeah.
Sounds like ham.
That's the caramel.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So it's very easy, and the ingredients here have quite a bit of fiber. The biggest ingredient was the dates, and dates are full of fiber.
This is one with the dirt on it.
They sell those sweet potato sticks in some restaurants,
Oh, yeah? Oh,
not the
yeah.
regular caramel.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, and we're ready for the tray with the chocolate cookies. Mark, you want to come get this again?
That is good.
Let me get this online here. Hang on just a second. Yeah.
They have this one that's shorter, 64 ounces. It's got the handle on it. Well, the other one might have a handle on it too.
David,
Okay.
it's good.
Excellent. Really good.
And if you would preheat the oven
Penny?
to
See, this one is,
Penny?
well, that says
350.
64 ounces, so.
Yeah. Yes, you can get rid of that and preheat and just preheat the oven to 350. Is that any good?
Yes.
Yeah, not bad, huh? Not bad at all. Okay, we're gonna do one more recipe, and then we're gonna do some door prizes.
Or get hypered up.
This looks far more complicated than it is. I actually made this cookie recipe one time. I was going somewhere and it's like, oh, I wish I'd made cookies today. I thought, I've got to leave in 30 minutes. Could I do it? And I did it. From having nothing out to having everything out, cookies mixed, in the oven, baked, cooled, and on the way out the door in 30 minutes. That's how easy this recipe is. Okay.
You've been on my line.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. I make these all the time. My husband's not as crazy about him as I am, but he doesn't have the sweet tooth that I have either. But you know, you'll probably like these as well. I'm just making a real mess up here. All right, so first thing is almond flour. I bought this almond flour at Aldi the other day, so that's very good and convenient. And then I usually buy the one at Costco in the much bigger bag, the almond flour. And they're finding that almond flour has a lot of purposes these days. What can be used in a lot of ways. So we're going to do 1 cup of almond flour. And usually when I make this recipe, I just go ahead and double it. Make it easy on myself. Just as easy to make a double recipe as one recipe. Just a little more baking time. Okay, and then coconut. I buy my coconut in bulk, and then I keep a lot of my foodstuffs in these kind of jars. And that way you can always, lots of time. I remember being frustrated as a young woman trying to cook because I'd find a recipe I'd want to make and then think, oh, I don't have the ingredients. Oh, I don't have the ingredients. Now I've got the ingredients. You call me and you want almost anything made, I've got it. And it took me a long time to get to that point, but I'm pretty much there now. If it's basically natural anyway. So this is a 1/4 cup, so we're going to need 2 of these to make a 1/2 cup. I'll just be setting this stuff back on here. Okay. And then a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. Now after I built up carob, now I'm fixing to turn around and use cocoa powder. But bear in mind, we don't eat this every day by any stretch. And this recipe doesn't call for a lot. It's a 1/4 cup, but this makes a ton of cookies. So like I said, if you're eating stuff that's not that good for you, make it a feast day, not a daily thing. So we're talking holidays here. So if you use something that you don't typically use, at least use it in moderation and don't eat the whole batch of cookies by yourself in the closet when nobody's looking. You can, and my husband likes them better that way. I don't like them better that way. And since I'm the one with the sweet tooth, we usually make it my way. But yeah, I have used carob. It's almost too sweet though. So if you were going to use carob, you may want to cut out some of the other sweetener somehow, because carob is just so naturally sweet that I felt like they were too sweet to my liking. Okay, so we so far have the almond flour, the coconut, and the cocoa powder. We need 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I bought one of these big things of cornstarch one time, and now I just refill it with a cheaper brand from the store because I don't like working out of those little boxes that it comes in. So 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is not a health food either. And hopefully you won't eat that every day.
Do you use baking powder instead of baking soda?
I don't think so. Yeah, those aren't always interchangeable. Okay, so I'm going to mix those dry ingredients together until they're all a uniform color. You can see right now they're not a uniform color, but they're fixing to be. That looks like such a small amount because I'm used to making a double batch. These keep really well, not, just in a cookie jar, not even in the refrigerator. But I've found that if you're going to have them in a cookie jar, it's better to have them in one that has a screw lid because it gives you time to think, I shouldn't be doing this. If it's just a lift lid, it's a whole lot more dangerous. Okay, so for the liquid, we want 6 tablespoons of maple syrup, which that is the equivalent of 1/3 of a cup plus 1 tablespoon. So I'm going to do 1/3 of a cup here. Also get this at Costco. Almost everything that I'm using today is organic. I know a lot of people are like, does it really matter? I wash it real good. But here's the thing that I don't think we used to realize years ago, and that is skin is permeable. Whether it's our skin, whether it's the skin on fruits, it's not sealed. Stuff can get in, fragrance can come out. You ever squeeze a lemon a little bit? And oh man, you can smell it. You almost get your hands wet if you squeeze a lemon because it's porous. So when poisons are sprayed on our food, they get in there. They're not just laying on the top, they get in there. So every time we have an opportunity to go organic, we need to go organic. It would be sort of like if we passed out food and I said, wait, that doesn't have pesticides, let me spray it right quick before you eat it. You wouldn't want me to do that. and yet it's in there, you know. So we need to try when we can. We can't always have organic all the time. Most of us understand that, or sometimes it's way more expensive. Lots of times it's not that much more expensive. But there does come a point where if we're doing the best we can, we pray over our food and say, God, this was the best I could get. Please help it not to hurt me, you know. So we do the best we can. Oh, so I didn't add that extra tablespoon in there. So that was 1/3 cup of maple flavor, or not maple flavoring, maple syrup, plus a tablespoon. Okay. All right. I'm gonna use this same spatula. I don't know about y'all, but I have learned to keep a plate nearby when I'm cooking to put my stuff on instead of just laying it on the counter and making a mess. So there's the maple syrup. Whoops, I meant to mix the vanilla in with that. Oh, here's my vanilla.
I just got 3 of those.
Usually I mix the vanilla in with the maple syrup, but I forgot that time. There we go.
Oopsie.
Oh well, at least it wasn't a whole bottle full. That would have been much more disastrous. Okay. The older I get, the less that I mind spills that happen around the house. I avoid it. But if we have people over and somebody spills something, I have learned that almost anything that can be spilled can also be cleaned up. I used to really sweat it when somebody made a mess. We had a little girl one time that spilled an entire pitcher of grape juice on white carpet.
Oh.
And she started to cry when I went, she just broke down, and I felt terrible that I had responded without thinking first, but that is your response when you see grape juice on white carpet. But bless my husband's heart, when he sees that, he goes into attack mode. And he launched, and I tell you, he got every bit of that grape juice out of that carpet. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. That's reason enough right there to keep the man. That is reason enough. Okay, so that has made a dough, and if you taste it at this point, you won't finish making the cookies. You'll just go ahead and eat the dough. So it's better just don't even taste it. But unlike recipes that have raw eggs, you could eat this.
It wouldn't hurt you.
It wouldn't hurt you, yeah. So that's good to know. All right, so we're going to take our little cookie scoop and dump it out right there. So I'm just going to put a few on here. And then what I have found with this recipe, the recipe from the originator of the recipe, which is on the Vegan 8 website, which is a marvelous website for recipes. She said, oh, put them spread out on the pan because, no, they don't. They just stay like that. So what I do is bake them for 6 minutes, 5 if you want them really nice and soft and chewy. So I put them in the oven for 6 minutes, get them out, pat them down, and then put them back in the oven for 6 more minutes. And I feel like they would probably also be pretty with a little sprinkle of powdered sugar, but I haven't done that because I know that's so bad for you, powdered sugar. So I haven't done it, but it would be pretty. So Mark, if you want to run these back to the oven for me, and then in 6 minutes, if you want to get them out, tap them down and bring them back. But this is a Pampered Chef pan. I don't know if any of y'all ever use those, but they get seasoned like cast iron, and that's some good stuff. So there comes your cookies.
Do you want to just throw them out, or what do you want to do?
Alternative to coconut.
I'll just hold it.
You
That
know,
just be skipped.
do you not like coconut, or are you allergic? I'm not, You may want to try the cookie because it doesn't taste real coconutty. It's almost more for texture than taste. It tastes like chocolate. Oh, and I meant to tell you, and I forgot to tell you. Sometimes I add chocolate chips and sometimes I don't. There, I spilled vanilla all over the bag. When I do use chocolate chips, I use the non-dairy chocolate chips, and believe it or not, and they're $7.50 a bag. But if you keep your eyes open for a sale, I found these that are made with rice milk for $2 at Publix. And Publix is usually a little pricey. These were $2 a bag. I guess nobody wanted it because it said rice milk on it. I don't know. But anyway, but they work just fine. They're fine. So lots of times I make these with no chocolate chips. But for the holidays, if you wanted to, or if you're trying to keep your family from freaking out because you're using more healthy foods, feel free to put them in. I also, and you can see on there, you can use a half cup of chopped dried cranberries. Those make it a little more Christmassy. I don't usually put the whole cranberries in because they're kind of too fat in a small cookie. You know, they're kind of lumpy, bumpy, whatever. So I lay them on a cutting board and cut through them a time or two and then put them in. But that's a nice addition.
It'd be good with nuts then, too.
Yes, I have used ground nut, or, you know, very finely chopped nuts. Yeah.
Question, if you didn't want these to be chocolate cookies, could you leave the cocoa out?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I have done that before, and they turn out good. I did that one time and put in almond flavoring instead of vanilla, and one time I even added some chopped raisins to the white cookies so they had little dark specks in them. But yes, you can do that, but it's especially good with almond flavoring. Yeah. All right. Everybody like those okay? If you want them crispier, you can put them in for 7 minutes instead of 6 each time. You can do 6 the first time, 7 the second time you put them back in. Or if you really want them chewy and not at all crispy, 5 and 5. That's how I like them. Mark wants them 7 and 7. He eats his toast burnt. I eat mine greased on. You know. But we still manage to make it work somehow. So, okay.
This Mark fella sounds pretty awesome.
He really is, yeah. Yeah, I can't complain about him. You know, this is a ridiculous thing to even bring up, but I love food so much, and I love all food so much. When I was in college, I spent a summer working in Orlando at Florida Hospital, and there was a guy down there that really wanted me to date him. So I did, and I kind of liked him. He was okay. And so we went out several times, and then I invited him over one time, and I had made this big fruit salad, nothing against you, made this big fruit salad, and I had put coconut in it, just like this, just small little bits of coconut. He didn't like coconut, so he spent his whole time at the table picking out those little bitty pieces of coconut. I thought, that kind of sealed the deal right there. I can't have no picky man. I think I would be kinder than that now, but anyway, so Mark will eat just about anything, so he's safe, at least for now. All right, let's do a few door prizes. I hope you guys have your tickets handy. We've got some